I'm Dr. Gaby Cora, and welcome to my Wellness Doctor and Coach certification program exclusively for physicians. Now, why physicians? Well, many of us have really joined our profession to be not only the doctors who help in pathology, but also help our patients achieve their maximum health and wellness, their ultimate health and wellness. And yet, with the current state of healthcare, many of us cannot do this, but at the same time, we've seen many other people come into the healthcare arena and provide for some of the services that we should be providing. So if you feel that you're one of the doctors who really went into medicine to help out, not only fix the problems, but also heal people on a very high level, thank you for joining me. Now, what's particular about this Wellness Doctor and Coach certification program for physicians? Well, first of all, it's given from physicians to physicians. So there's something very unique about that particular part of this program per se. The second one is that we're going to see not only things about coaching per se, but I'm going to help you build your whole empire around health and coaching and practicing medicine the way that you were meant to practice. So this will include tons around speaking engagement, corporate health and wellness programs, consulting programs, coaching per se, of course, networking, social media, and many other things that you would only be able to learn by doing an MBA as I've done, plus joining many other separate programs. This program brings everything together. The third point that is very important here to share is that you're going to be part of a very unique and elite group of physicians way ahead of your curve. So as a pioneer in this area, I invite you to join me in the Wellness Doctor and Coach certification program. On writing and publishing, I was recently invited as a keynoter for an upcoming event on the Healthiest Employers Awards. How did this even happen? Well, the CEO of a South Florida publication read my book, ExecutiveHealth.com's Leading Under Pressure, and she absolutely loved it. She actually said, "Why didn't I have this book 3 years ago? That's when I needed it." I kind of ended up trying to incorporate all these tips and strategies on my own, and several times I ended up hitting my head against the wall. So I wish I had had this before. Now, what's interesting about having the opportunity of speaking in front of executives who are about to get an award, and where I can speak about health and wellness, is that this opportunity has brought me right in front of executives who could potentially hire me too. What does that have to do with writing and publishing? Well, it has everything to do with writing and publishing, because we write and we publish so that we can reach our public, and so that this public can fall in love with us, and so that this public will want to hire us to help them out. And this is why it's so important for us to try to put all of this together. So here you have some elements of what I just said. My written work was really geared toward busy executives who are leading under pressure. So I would create a way in which my book, my publication, can be in front of my potential buyer in a way so that they can have, so that I can have an opportunity to speak in front of them and try to see if we can make that connection. So that's the first point of why writing and publishing becomes so important. The first point here is, how do we transition from publishing in the scientific world to now publishing for the public at large? In the first part of my career, all my publishing had to do with scientific work. So it was all published in peer-reviewed publications. It was all in the community of doctors to doctors. It was really not meant for the public at large. However, as my career started shifting with a focus more on the audience or on the public at large, much of my writing changed. Why? Because my audience completely changed. whereas I would have wanted to have sounded scientifically perfect with evidence-based medicine, and every word that I used in those scientific publications had to be almost perfect. When we speak to the public, we really try to draw some simple concepts. So we really try to rephrase something that seems to be extremely complex into something that's a lot simpler so that everyone can understand. There's a couple of other things that are very important here as well. So for example, I would assume that many scientists who were also researching in the same areas that I was a researcher in, we would have that in common. So we would probably be a few who were all interested in the same themes, whereas with the public at large, we can make one single concept appealing to many people. And we need to figure out what are the best ways in which we can transfer this message, this concept, in a way that is appealing to many more people. For example, if I was at the National Institutes of Health and I wanted to write something for my peers, that would have been in the form of articles, or it would have been in the form of chapters, or even in my presentations. They would have been very scientifically based. Whereas, for example, for the general public, I know the general public may want to read my blogs, they may want to follow my tweets, and or they may also want to see what I'm writing on Facebook or what I'm posting on Facebook. So this becomes a totally different ball game. For example, if I am not able to convert a simple single message that's very medically relevant into 140 characters on a tweet, then I don't have any message to share. So this becomes a unique strategy on its own. The other thing that's very important here too is the themes that may be appealing or of interest to the general public may not necessarily be the same ones that are very appealing to our scientific base. So this is interesting. The most important thing though is that the same credibility that we would have in our scientific world, we need to be able to establish with the public at large as well. The expertise that we have in that scientific world, we would also show in a different way to that public at large. But the most important thing is our ability to connect from scientist to scientist becomes an interesting dilemma of how to establish so that you can still be as someone who is an expert, who is trusted and who's credible, but who can also connect and care with that public at large. That is one of the main differences between being a writer or a speaker within our scientific community versus being that speaker, that writer, or that communicator with the public at large. So the second point here is, how do we effectively communicate a message of health and wellness to that public at large? And part of it I may have already tapped into. But for example, let's say that you want to talk about obesity, or you want to talk about depression and or about anxiety. You would need to craft the appropriate message depending on whether you're going to send out a tweet, or if you're going to comment on it on LinkedIn, or if you're going to have something on Facebook, or any other kind of strategy that you're using. You may be a syndicated columnist on different magazines that appeal to the public at large, and each one of them will have their own style, their own cultural style that they may want you to incorporate as you're communicating with their audience, with their large audience. So you're going to need to think, how is it that you really want to craft your message so that it can be appealing and so that you can increase your viewership, the people that follow you. The third point here is, what does the anatomy of that message really look like? So one of the most important things that I'm going to help you with is to craft that message, to find your core message, so that then you can start figuring out what other venues you need to convert that message into so that it's relevant for that venue. So for example, I may be speaking in another language to you now. If I say we have to select the right hashtag if you're going to convey a message through Twitter. But once we start working, you're going to see how easy it is and how you can build that group of followers that are going to try to figure out when it is that you're online so that you can give them some tips of the day. So that's one thing to think about. It will be a very different group if you want to appeal to a LinkedIn group, and or if you want to address more of a Facebook group, or if you want to write your own articles or syndicated columns. In my case, I've had a bit of all of this experience, writing my own newsletters, articles, blogs, tweets, Facebook points, as well as LinkedIn, ways in which I could also address certain things that are very relevant in the news, but bring in my take on them too. So this is just a snapshot to give you an idea of what you can do if you're interested in writing and or publishing in a way that will help you support your coaching career and your medical career as well. If you want to learn more about this and my program, please visit wellnessdoctorandcoach.com. We're starting the first group ever from physicians to physicians starting in July. But if you want to apply earlier, I'm more than happy to start working with you before that date. Thanks for watching. Again, wellnessdoctorandcoach.com. You're going to find tons of information there, and thanks for following. I hope you enjoyed the sneak preview of the Wellness Doctor and Coach certification program, and I look forward to seeing you in July. Now, how can you sign up? Very simple, by filling out a form that you need to request directly to me on my private email. What is my private email? It's gcl@drgabycora.com. So write me a private email at gcl@drgabycora.com, request the form to sign up, and you'll be one of a group of 12 people coming in and joining me on the Wellness Doctor and Coach certification program. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in Miami in July.